My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show, and this is all about the Paradigm 40B stand mount speaker. Now, it's part of the Founder series that also includes 3 towers, an LCR, and a center channel speaker. But today, I'm just looking at the 40B. As you can plainly see, it's a two-way stand mount speaker. But there's so much more to it than just that, right? Well, first of all, I think it's beautiful in a very tasteful way, a very distinctive way that's not like overdone or, shouting at you, right? That faceted side panel, that deep waveguide around the tweeter. The tweeter, by the way, is a 1-inch magnesium aluminum substrate to an anodized ceramic coating. And then there's a phase aligning lens on top of that that actually works as a grill. Even if you have little kids poking your tweeters, they won't get to that tweeter, which is a cool feature to have. There's also a phase aligning perforated grill over the 6-inch woofer, which is a magnesium aluminum cone. And I'll show you a cutaway of it. And look at the size of that magnet. This is a serious woofer. This looks like a subwoofer woofer. But it's not. It's a beautiful, elegantly designed driver. And here's the thing. Paradigm is a family-owned company. They're based in Toronto, Canada. They make pretty much everything in-house. They're not relying on outside suppliers, and they were just assembling it there. No, they're really designing and engineering and building the whole speaker in Toronto. So props for that. Speaking of beauty, they're also available in 4 finishes. Now, I had walnut, but there's also a black walnut, cherry, those are real wood finishes, and also a high gloss black. Build quality feels super solid. There's a very heavily braced cabinet. It weighs 25 pounds, which is a lot for a speaker of this size. Round back, there's also a port and bi-wire connectors. But it's that feel that really, as I was unboxing the speaker and setting it up, it just had a solidity to it that, yeah, this is going to be good. I was set up from the get-go to like this speaker, and I did. I'm going to link to Paradigm's website for more detailed information and specs, but there's one spec, or one group of specs I'm going to put up on the screen right now that jumped out at me, which is why I have to take note. And that is the -2 dB spec, not -3, -2, is 69 hertz. That's unusually high. That implies the speaker doesn't make much deep bass. And in fact, it does. It makes bass. Actually, I had fairly flat down to, in my room, because there's also room gain, to around 50 hertz, which is kind of average for this size speaker. But it's funny that most companies exaggerate how much bass their speaker makes. Paradigm's going the other direction, saying, no, it's 69 hertz. So I give them something for that. Honesty, a gold star for honesty. In any case, that was a big surprise for me. The speaker that came through here just before I started working on the 40B review was the Callahan A36.2. And that one was just more vivid, more exciting, more tingly, It was more of an extrovert, let's put it that way. And this one here, the 40B, was more introverted. It was not as showy, not as flashy, just a little more, hey, I'm just going to step back here and let the music speak for itself. And by the way, the amplifier that I used for most of this review was the Gato Amp 150 solid state amplifier, 150 watts a channel, powerful, clean, accurate, seemed like a really good match. And I did make one change further down the road, and I will tell you about that in due time. But, I just have to tell you about this recording by Ben Sidran, and it's called Dylan Different. And it is definitely different because, Ben Sidran is a jazz singer, and these are jazzy, kind of chill renditions of Dylan's greatest hits, right? All the obvious ones. And it's kind of dopey in a way to take Dylan into that realm. but there's a sincerity to his performances that really kind of grabbed me. And I'm not saying this is for everybody. For Dylan fans or jazz fans, this is one of those records that might not please either audience, jazzers and Dylan people. But I was impressed with Ben Sidran's bravery to make a record like this. And it's a really nice recording. He sounds great. His voice sounds great. But anyway, that was one that passed through this room as I was working on this review. One of the best things about this speaker is the way it images. The soundstage is big, it's open, it just sort of blooms. With the right recording, it just sounds big, and the speakers can really, really disappear. And that is one I kept noting that again and again as I went through different recordings. I like the way the speaker soundstages. Led Zeppelin 2, playing that record takes me back to my teenage self. It just does. I close my eyes, I listen to Led Zeppelin 2, and I go, yeah, no wonder this record has shone brightly over the decades. It's not a great sounding recording. It's got some grit, it's got some haze. There's a lot of stuff going on there that's not pretty, but that's okay because the music is just so much vitality to it. And John Bonham's bombastic drumming is, whoa, it's supposed to pin you back in your seat. And that's something that I didn't feel that the 40B was really doing. Now, I wanted more. I wanted more fullness. I wanted more punch. I wanted it to be a more visceral performer than it turned out to be. But in terms of the tactility, is that a word? Of the drums, the feel of the drums, if not the dynamic punch of the drums, was very well handled by this speaker. Elvis Costello's My Flame Burns Blue. Well, this is a different kind of record for Elvis. It's a big band, a very big band. It has horns and strings, and he's revisiting his old catalog and just giving these songs a new life. And he sounds truly energized by this setting of working with this band. And things like Clubland, the song Clubland, it's kind of now has like a Latin groove to it that I thought was really good. I mean, Elvis was so into it. I mean, I saw Elvis many times in his very early days here in the US. And it was that guy's just connection to the audience. He was electric. He was ferocious in his live shows. And he's a lot older now, so he's not quite as ferocious. But in this setting, wow, could he do it? He could still really do it. And then with a song like Almost Blue, which is a ballad, he is just, his technique as a singer has just grown so well, matured over the years. This is a really great recording. If you're an Elvis fan and you've lost touch and you want to reconnect and hear his back catalog but done in a new way, check out this record. Really, really nice. For my next speaker comparison, I decided to use a set of KEF LS50 Metas. And well, as I was setting them up and putting them on the stands, I wasn't really sure how this was going to go down, which is why I was doing the comparison, right? And the record that I played first was Bill Callahan's Apocalypse. He's got the big voice. He's got incredible presence. He's the big baritone, manly voice. And this recording is really, it's all over the place, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's acoustic, it's electric, it's moody, it's atmospheric, but I could just listen to this record without understanding the lyrics, which is what I usually do. When I listen to the lyrics, I get confused. But the moods that it creates and his delivery is so smooth and quietly intense. It's a joy to listen to. And anyway, the KEF LS50 just had more of that presence that came through. His voice, which is big, was big on the 40B, but it was bigger on the Meta. It just had more, well, body, completeness, more of like a human being actually singing there. So yeah, I definitely preferred the Meta in this round, especially on that, with that album. with that out of the way, I decided to pull out the Gato 150 and put in the first Wat F8 power amp and the past Labs XPA1, which is a headphone amp, but I was using it as a preamp, and use that to drive the 40B. And that turned out to be a better match because that had more of what I wanted. It had more of that roundness, that fullness, that soul that I felt the Gato 150 was a little light by comparison. I just realized I haven't talked about the 40B's top end, its treble. The treble, well, the reason I didn't talk about it because it's very, doesn't call attention to itself, which is where I think where I started in this review, right? It's just there. It's not bright. It's not dull. No, it's definitely not dull. But it's very easy to just take for granted. I'll put it that way. And that's a good thing. When it comes to top end, you don't want a speaker that shouts or turns brittle or hard. And like the brass on that Elvis Costello record had no edge to it, no extra bite that shouldn't be there. Because bite for brass sometimes is supposed to be there. But in this case, no, the 40B's top end was actually very smooth in that regard. So summing up, I think here's what's going on. I think that the 40B is a very neutral sounding speaker overall, but it's a little cool as you go down the frequency response range, right? I think it needs a little help. Maybe a subwoofer might be worth investigating. And crossing it over relatively high for a speaker of this size, maybe 60 hertz, 70 hertz. And I think that would make it all fit. The balance would just be smoother overall. Anyway, speaking of smoother overall, my name is Steve Guttenberg, and this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I do here, yes, please consider subscribing to this channel. Hit that button right down there. When you do, hit the bell so you'll be notified every time there's an incredible new episode. Beyond that, I would strongly recommend, that you check out the Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. And beyond that, well, oh, here's something cool. So I just did an interview, a face-to-face interview with Herb Reichert from Stereophile. I went over to his place. We had some other stuff to handle there. And so we did our first real unmasked, we're both on camera interview because we're both double vaccinated, and it was so much fun. It was funny, it was fun, it was just like the way it was before. So some other really cool stuff coming up on the Audiophiliac Daily Show. So thank you again for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.